First question: how did Elijah go up to heaven? Answer: A. In a chariot of fire with horses. Elijah was taken up to heaven in a chariot of fire, and horses of fire appeared before him and his disciple Elisha, separating them, after which Elijah was carried up to heaven in a whirlwind. The ascension of Elijah symbolizes the coming resurrection and ascension of Jesus Christ. The prophet Elijah is destined to return to earth at the end of times as a sure sign of the second coming of the Lord. Second question: who was the successor of the prophet Elijah? Answer: B. Elisha. Elisha was a disciple of Elijah, whom Elijah called while he was plowing with oxen in the field. Elisha continued Elijah's mission, standing for the purity of faith and rebuking wickedness. He performed many miracles recorded in the Bible, including healings and the raising of the dead. Elisha prophesied for more than 60 years during the reigns of several kings of Israel. Third question: what did Elijah do with the widow's son from Zarephath? Answer: A. Brought him back to life through prayer. Elijah revived the widow's son from Zarephath by taking the boy's body to his room, laying him on his bed, and crying out to God to restore his life. He stretched himself out over the child 3 times and said, "O Lord my God, let this child's soul return to him." The Lord heard the prophet's prayer, and the boy came back to life. Fourth question: how did God sustain Elijah in the wilderness by the brook Cherith? Answer: B. Ravens brought him bread and meat. God sustained Elijah by the brook Cherith, sending food through ravens, which, by the Lord's command, brought him bread and meat. He also drank from the brook, and thus all his needs for food and water were met. Fifth question: how many times did Elijah pray on the mountain before the rain came after the drought? Answer: C. 7 times. Elijah prayed on the mountain 7 times before the rain came, sending his servant to look toward the sea. He prayed for the end of the drought, and after each of the 7 prayers, he sent his servant to look again, until on the 7th time the servant saw a cloud announcing the coming rain. The rain was not just a natural phenomenon, but also a sign of God's forgiveness. Sixth question: which woman especially hated the prophet Elijah and wanted to kill him? Answer: B. Jezebel. 1 Kings 19:2. Neve. So Jezebel sent a messenger to Elijah to say, "May the gods deal with me, be it ever so severely, if by this time tomorrow I do not make your life like that of one of them." This shows Jezebel's determination to kill Elijah after he destroyed the prophets of Baal. Seventh question: against whom did the prophet Elijah stand on Mount Carmel? Answer: B. Against the prophets of Baal. On Mount Carmel, the prophet Elijah confronted the prophets of Baal and Asherah, as well as the people of Israel who had turned to false gods. He arranged a contest to prove that the true God is the God of Israel, not Baal. In the end, he executed the prophets of Baal and rebuked the people of Israel for their wavering and unfaithfulness. Eighth question: how many prophets of Baal gathered on Mount Carmel against Elijah? Answer: of 450. On Mount Carmel, 450 prophets of Baal gathered against the prophet Elijah. King Ahab, desiring to know who the true God was, commanded Elijah to gather the prophets of Baal and all the Israelites on Mount Carmel. They called on the name of Baal from morning till noon, saying, "O Baal, answer us." But there was no voice. No one answered. 1 Kings 18:26. In the end, when Elijah called on the Lord, God sent fire from heaven and revealed himself as the true God. Ninth question. In the second book of Kings, 4 Kingdoms, Elijah's appearance is described. Who in the New Testament was clothed in the same way as him? Answer: C. John the Baptist. They replied, "He had a garment of hair and had a leather belt around his waist." The king said, "That was Elijah the Tishbite." 2 Kings 1-8. John's clothes were made of camel's hair, and he had a leather belt around his waist. His food was locusts and wild honey. Matthew 3-4. Thus, John the Baptist appeared in the same way as Elijah, showing the prophetic connection between them. 10th question. What does the name Elijah mean? Answer C. My God is Yahweh. In Hebrew, Elijah is Eliah or Eliyahu, derived from El, God, and Yahu, a shortened form of Yahweh. 11th question. How did Elijah get food when the famine began? Answer: A. He was fed by ravens. You will drink from the brook, and I have directed the ravens to supply you with food there. So he did what the Lord had told him. He went to the Kerith ravine, east of the Jordan, and stayed there. The ravens brought him bread and meat in the morning, and bread and meat in the evening, and he drank from the brook. 12th question. What did the prophet Elijah do to the captains with their 50 men whom King Isaiah sent to him? Answer: B. He struck them with fire from heaven. When King Isaiah sent 3 companies of 50 men each to Elijah, the prophet twice called down fire from heaven by the word of the Lord, and it consumed the first 2 groups. Only the 3rd captain, who humbly pleaded for mercy, was spared, and God preserved his life. 13th question. On which mountain did Elijah pray and hear God in the gentle whisper? Answer: B. Horeb. God did not reveal himself in the windstorm, the earthquake, or the fire, but in a gentle whisper. The gentle whisper stands in contrast to the previous dramatic manifestations. It is not mere silence, but a subtle, tender manifestation of the divine presence that comes after the turbulent events. 14th question. How did Elijah divide the waters of the Jordan? Answer: A. He struck the water with his cloak. Elijah took his cloak, rolled it up, and struck the water with it. The water divided to the right and to the left, and the 2 of them crossed over on dry ground. 15th question. Who witnessed Elijah's ascension into heaven? Write your answer in the comments. Write in the comments how many questions you managed to answer. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Goodbye, everyone. See you next time.